Welcome to the Joy Work Show, the podcast that goes beyond the surface of business and right to the heart. We explore the real stories behind success, not just the moments of celebration, but the challenges that paved the way for them. I'm your host, Diane, and here we know that joy isn't just about the good times. Often it comes right after the hardest ones. And today's guest is the perfect example of that. In this episode, I'm joined by the incredible Dr. Tania, a radiologist turned entrepreneur who made the bold leap from a high-stakes medical career to building a life and business on her own terms. We talk about burnout, bravery, and the big decisions that come when the life you've built no longer fits who you are. Tania shares how she found her calling in high-ticket sales, why mindset is everything, and how she is redefining success, not just for herself, but for her daughters too. This one's for every woman who's ever wondered, is this it? And dared to find out what else is possible. And as always, it's so much better to hear from the guests themselves. So let's go. Hi Tania, and welcome to the Joy Work Show. I am so delighted to have you with me today, and I love it when I get to hear people's stories, not for the first time, because I have followed you on social media for a while. I have seen some of the wonderful things that you do and what your business is about, but I love hearing the stories first hand. So let's get to it. Let us know who you are, what you do, and how you got here.
Well, thank you so much for having me. First of all, it's a real pleasure to be here with you.
So welcome.
So I'm Dr. Tania, or you could just refer to me as Tania. That's absolutely fine. And I have come from a background of being a doctor, a medical doctor, a radiologist. And I kind of knew through my journey as a doctor that there was a different calling for me. So I loved so many parts of my job as a doctor, as a radiologist, but it got to the point where I was really burnt out with my work, with the responsibility and with the stress load of being a doctor in a busy NHS hospital. And it drove me to being burnt out. It drove me to really a position where I was borderline depressed and just not happy with the life that I was living. And I wasn't able to fully lead the freedom-based lifestyle that I wanted. Freedom is my biggest driver. It's my biggest, highest value. And I got to the point where I came home one day and had to look at my husband, and we both looked at each other in the eye and we just said, we need to do something about this. I cannot stay in this situation where I'm coming home into his arms crying every day because I was so unhappy with the life that I was living. I was in a significant amount of credit card debt as well, which was another concern. Financially, things weren't good either. And I kind of took a look at my more senior consultants and bosses, and I saw that they were living their lives in the hospitals like all day, every day, it seemed to me. And I just said, I don't want this lifestyle for me. This doesn't fill me with joy. This doesn't make me feel fulfilled. It doesn't, working with my patients and helping them improve their health and giving them good news and positive news was something that absolutely lit me up and I loved. But I had to then decide to say, do you know what? This isn't for me. I have to now go and do and live life for me by pursuing my highest value, which was freedom. So I and my husband decided to do something about it. And just really by coincidence, we stumbled across property through a free workshop that was in our local town. And he really encouraged me to go to it. He'd been to one himself. It's like, Tania, he called me up. It's like, Tania, you need to go to this thing. It's going to completely change the way that you look at everything. And I think this is the key to get you out of what you're currently doing. And so I went to this free property workshop in my town. And then obviously there was an upsell afterwards. And the upsell was for a 3-day property course, and the cost was £1,000. To me, that was a huge amount of money, like a huge amount of money. I called Rafa, my husband, up and said, this sounds amazing. These 3 days sound amazing. but it's £1,000. Like, I don't know if we can do this. This is a huge amount of money. And obviously now I'm used to investing tens of thousands in personal and self-development and business development. But we decided to go for it, and we put, this big stake in the ground, said, you know what, we're going to go and do this. And we learned about property on these 3 days. And that was really the starting point of me and him also just opening our eyes to see what else was possible, that we didn't have to continue just exchanging our time for money in jobs that no longer lit us up, working for someone else, working under the control of someone else, having someone else to answer to, which it doesn't bode well for neither him nor I, with freedom being our biggest, highest values. And so that's where I really got into, the entrepreneurial space, was through property. We built a small property portfolio that then was able to replace my medical salary. And because of the things that I was creating in the property world, just posting organically on social media, people started reaching out to me and asking me if I could help them replicate the results that I was creating for myself and for ourselves. And that's where my online mentoring and online business started. And that did really well. And I was just focused on mentoring and property, but then kind of decided about a year and a half ago that actually that's not what I wanted to do anymore. I really wanted to help more entrepreneurs, especially women, generate more income, create more wealth, create more success, but not by multiplying their workload. And that's how I've gotten into high ticket sales and being the leading high ticket sales expert in my field, helping entrepreneurs, especially women, get paid more for the work that they love without multiplying their workload. And that's where we are today.
It's quite the story. There's quite a lot packed in. You've seen me scribbling away there, kind of at point to bring up. And it is such an amazing story. What I'd like to go back to is that there's been quite a few people, business owners coming here, who've come from like the institutions, who have come from the NHS, the schooling, the forces, that type of thing. And it always, I love the fact that they've got the transferable skills. But what for you, because you are a doctor, you will have qualified, you'll have trained for a long time to do that. How did it feel? And I presume at some point that was a dream for you to do that. How did it feel that it didn't fulfill you the way that you wanted to? It's a really brave thing to turn around and say, this isn't working for me.
Absolutely. It was the hardest decision I've ever had to make, because that was my entire identity. So the reason I got into medicine was because I was surrounded by medics in my father's side of the family. So all of his siblings except him are or were all doctors. And, we have a Middle Eastern background, so that's not unusual. It's very common to be a doctor or a dentist or a lawyer, be an upstanding pillar of society. And so I was brought up with, my dad's side of the family around me who were doctors. And so that's all I really knew from a career standpoint. My mum was a doctor, but she was an academic doctor in psychology. And so she was obviously slightly different. But I was just brought up thinking, right, I'm going to be a doctor. That's all I know. Like, that's what I'm going to do. I'm intelligent enough to get the grades to get into medical school and all of the things. So when it got to the point where actually, and I have to give a lot of credit to my husband for getting me to see differently, because I am not naturally a risk taker. I'm very much, I like to be in my comfort zone. I like to not take risks. I like to have things as they are and not be like, oh God, we're going to take this next leap. And so I have to give a lot of credit to my husband, who I really refer to as my first ever mentor, bless him, because he really comes from a completely different background. He comes from Brazil. He comes from a mindset where he's like, we can do anything that we want. You don't have to stay stuck doing what society expects of you, especially if it doesn't make you happy and if it doesn't fill you with joy. And it was the hardest decision I've ever had to make, because like I say, being a doctor was my entire identity. And I always say, when you're in a social setting, for example, when you are at a party or a social event, the first thing that people ask you after, what's your name, nice to meet you, is what is it that you do?
Yeah.
And my response was always, I'm a doctor. And so by making this decision to leave, and when everyone was saying to me, right, what consultant job are you going for, Tanya? Like, everyone's gone for this job and this job and this hospital and this hospital. And I was like, do you know what? I'm not going to. I felt like a massive outsider, and I felt like I was completely different. And I'd felt that for a long time. I was like, I don't fit in here. I'm like a square peg in a round hole. This just doesn't work for me. Yes, I was great at patient delivery, and my seniors always said that I was really good at my job. I had massive imposter syndrome, by the way, which I still do sometimes with what I do now, which I think is normal for a lot of us.
Absolutely.
But it was really cutting ties with what I call the good girl, like being the good girl and doing what society expected of me and doing what I thought my family expected of me, especially my father, who I love dearly and who is my closest confidant and friend. He'd always said, you need to do medicine, you need to be a doctor, be a doctor, be a doctor, get the best grades, be the best, be the best, be the best, because he didn't want me to suffer financially like he has done. So it was really hard. It was really hard just letting go of that life. It's almost like it's another version of Tanya, and it was another version of Tanya. I'm a completely different person now. I take more risks. I believe you have to take risks to grow and to create something that not everyone has, or to build a lifestyle that is out of the ordinary. So it was really hard, but I did it. And I'm glad that I did.
It is, and it's so hard. And I think people kind of underestimate. And when people have said to me when I left my career and said that it was brave, and it is a really brave thing to do, and it is really brave to take a leap. But I always think that you get to a point, and there'll always be something, like you said, you never felt like you fit in. I had a 20 plus year career in direct sales and marketing, and I loved it. I thrived in it. But I can now look back at those little pockets of time where I was looking for something else and looking for something more and looking for perhaps more freedom, which I'll come back to. But it was just that feeling of there has to be something else. This can't be all there is to life, that I do this and then it stops.
That's exactly how I felt.
And then I remember saying to somebody, they were like, well, so what, how did you get the brave? How did it make you leap? And I was like, it was scarier to go back, because I launched my business after my second maternity leave. I was like, it was scarier to go back to my career than it was to just jump into the unknown. And I think that's when because it's like, doesn't mean it's not scary, doesn't mean that you're not absolutely petrified of what's going to happen next, but you know that you're more terrified of going back the way.
Absolutely.
And I think there is always that breaking point, and everybody's story always looks different. Some it's children, sometimes it's a breakdown, sometimes it's a change in circumstances, and you just almost draw the line in the sand. It does always intrigue me, the people who do and the people who don't.
Yeah.
It does really, really always intrigue me, but there is always that kind of connection. And I wanted to go back to the freedom point of view, because I remember when I came into the online space, and very naively, I then suddenly had an issue with the word freedom. And I was like, they're saying it's a freedom lifestyle, but it was more the kind of people who said it doesn't take hard work or walked away from that. It was them when somebody said to me, but you told me you want choice, and choice is the ultimate freedom. And that's when I stopped talking about disliking freedom and I spoke about it. So why is freedom so important to you?
Because we only get one life, and this isn't a rehearsal. One of the big reasons and one of the big catalysts, which I talk about in my book, actually, I've got one here, The High Ticket Method, available on Amazon.
We'll put a link in the show notes.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Shameful plug.
I've nothing shameful about a plug. Nothing shameful about a plug.
One of the big catalysts that drove me to really commit to changing my life was that I lost my mum 12 Christmases ago when I was in my late 20s. She was only 57, to a 13-month battle with cancer, and as an only child. And I instantly felt like I owed it not just to her, not just to me, but to her as well, to not just settle for an ordinary, good enough life. Because we don't have forever. We don't get another go at this. This is a one one-time opportunity. It's literally an opportunity of a lifetime to
Yeah.
go and live this life to the full. And so that is what freedom means to me. It's going and creating the opportunities, going and creating the choice. And her being the biggest catalyst, I would say, is because I remember before she got diagnosed, she was a psychology teacher at the local high school in Cornwall, in Bude. And she taught psychology there. She loved her job, but it got very, very stressful with some very horrible sounding children who just, it wasn't pleasant for her to be working there, and it was very stressful, and all of the things. And she'd said to me for months, if not years before she got diagnosed in 2011, that she wanted to, and she was going to hand in her notice, sell our home, which was costing a fortune in mortgage payments and all the things, and go traveling the world and start off in Latin America, South America, which ironically is where my husband is from. And this was her dream, and that's what she really wanted to do. She loved really immersing herself in different cultures and being with people of different cultures and always trying to learn some of the language. So she showed that she wasn't just there speaking English, but she really wanted to fit in as part of the different cultures that she was visiting. And that was her dream, and that's what she really wanted to do. And it was literally taken away from her overnight with no preparation, no warning. And so that was another line in the sand for me, where I was like, I can't just carry on settling for good enough or for everything that looked good on paper, which actually made me feel like shit inside, with the stress, with the responsibility, and with the mental health struggle that I was going through as a doctor. That was another line in the sand for me to say, do you know what? I can't do good enough anymore. I owe it not just to me, but to my mum as well, to live twice, for me and for her. And so I've gone off on a bit of a tangent here.
Go. That was the freedom. It was the freedom we were talking about.
Yeah, it's that's what freedom means to me, is really living life with opportunity, with choice, and just not holding back. Because like I say, it's not a rehearsal. This is a once in a lifetime opportunity. And
No,
too many
absolutely.
people settle for good enough, thinking that they couldn't possibly do what he or she has done, when actually I believe that pretty much anyone can go and achieve what they want, can go and create the life that they want. It just takes discipline, it takes consistency, it takes commitment. And like you referred to earlier, I can't remember if it was during our recording or during our chat beforehand, the discomfort of not going for the life that you really desire has to outweigh the comfort of you staying in your comfort zone. I think I've got that the right way, Ralph.
Yeah, you have.
So yeah.
Yeah, but it is, and it is uncomfortable. And I think what people underestimate, and what you have seemed to have done again and again and again, is it's a choice. Like, you get to choose what your life looks like. And I couldn't agree more that anybody can change their life today if they truly choose to. It just takes a one step. That's all it takes today. It's not going to happen overnight. It's not going to get you to the ultimate goal by doing it, but it's the one step forward. But I think people underestimate the choices that they're making. And I think when somebody said that to me about freedom, that choice is the ultimate freedom, and kind of put me back in my box. And I'm so grateful that they did, because I think when you can choose, but people don't realize the choices that they're making are keeping them where they are, rather than making a choice to do something different or to stand out or to do the unexpected, or, like you say, not do the good enough life or the expected life. And too often it is that we're caring about what other people think. And quite often it is the people that are closest to us, who have these ideals, or they want to keep us safe. They want to
100%.
keep us financially safe, or they don't want us to go through hardship, or, where ultimately, if they can support you, like, obviously you've talked about your husband, if you have that support who says, no, you can do things a bit differently. My partner is like the ultimate optimist guy. So if sometimes, and I can be a really negative person when I want to be, and I'll come in and say, but what if this happened? But what if that happens? But what if, and he just goes, but what if it doesn't? And there's nothing I can say back to it apart from, right, okay, we're going again, and here we go. So it is just really interesting to see, like, the transformations and the fact of the people who choose to do and the people who choose to not do. but we'll sit and think about it and have notepads full and dream out the window and everything else. So obviously you had this property business and that was going really well for you and you're beginning to see. So what was the change a year and a half ago to now do the work that you're doing now? What was that? Because obviously you must have been mentoring people before that who were coming to you to see the results, which is always the way, isn't it? That people see the results and they want to be able to replicate it themselves. But what was the change 18 months ago that you thought, right, this is now what I want to do?
So I had really identified that I was doing business differently to a lot of people in the online space. A lot of people start out sort of charging low ticket, low price points, and then slowly work their way up across the years into charging higher ticket prices. And I actually pretty much from very early on, almost at the outset, but not quite, had done things differently. I was successfully selling packages and offers that were above market average price point. So, for example, my property program was just under 5,000, where I think the average sort of price point for a group program is around 1,500. I was actually charging just under 5,000 for this. And I recognized that I'd really mastered how to get the attention of people who are willing to pay more for your services, but in return, how you can then deliver an excellent client experience and program, container, offer, call it what you will, to create or co-create epic results with your clients. And there is a scary statistic that says that only 10% of women-owned businesses ever reach the six-figure revenue mark, which I find really like shocking and astounding. And we have to look at why that is. And the reason why that is that I think for so long, women especially have been taught to not shout about their wins, not talk about money, not talk about how well they're doing and how great they are at what it is that they do, because we get frowned upon if we blow our own trumpet. And so I saw a real opportunity where I could start to help more entrepreneurs make more money by selling high ticket offers, elevating their price points, elevating their client experience, elevating the personalized experiences that they were delivering to get paid more for the work that they love, but without multiplying their workload. Yeah. And the vehicle for that, absolutely uncategorically, is how mastering high ticket sales and how to sell more high ticket offers and how to attract premium paying clients into your business. And so I am really passionate about getting more wealth, more success, more money into the hands of more entrepreneurs, especially women. Now, I don't just work exclusively with women, but I would say that the majority, I think all of my clients at the moment are actually women. I'm really passionate about that because we have to break through the societal norms. We have to break through the fact that only 10% of women hit six figures in revenue. Yeah. And so coming back to my point there, looking at why is that? Well, a lot of women are underselling their services, underselling themselves, and therefore undervaluing their services, therefore getting underpaid, and then coming to me and saying, Tania, I'm not making the money that I want. I don't have the business that I want. And it's for those reasons. So it's something that everyone can do, whatever business you run, whether you're a service-based business, a product-based business, whether you are an agency, a coach, mentor, consultant, whether you're in corporate, it doesn't matter. Everything that I teach is part of the high ticket method, which is what my book is based on. It's the high ticket method, my 6-step system. Everything that I teach is applicable to any business. You know, people say, but I've got a product-based business. How could I possibly have a high ticket offer in my business model? So we can have a look at Fortnum and Mason. They've taken the sort of regular Christmas hamper to another level, which they charge multiple thousands for, because there is obviously a market. So there is a market for high ticket sales, high ticket offers, and bringing in high ticket clients, whatever business model you run, whatever business type you run, whether you're service-based or product-based.
And it is that thing. It doesn't surprise me that a lot of your clients are women for two reasons. One, it's never surprised me how many women are in the online space, because whether we've chosen it or whether we feel backed into a corner because of it, it has opened up the opportunity for ambitious, skilled, women with expertise to do what they love, do what they do, and children and care responsibilities and the responsibilities as women get older that we have with our families. And then also the exact thing you say, that too many women then keep themselves small. Like, you see so many brilliantly skilled, amazing women who are experts at what they do, like the results they can get from normal, but they keep themselves small because that's what we've been taught to do. And it feels sometimes, extraordinary to kind of try and break out of that, and that we're being rebellious or we're being, and then if we do try and break out of it, it's because she's difficult and because she's loud, and, and it's just having that. And the one thing I wrote down when you said that you changed 18 months ago into this type of this high ticket sales was that you built the belief in yourself, that you had built the belief that this is what you can do, this is a transformation you have made for yourself, and you can help others do it. And it's so important to have that, because I think if women want to see change, and as a collective and as an individual, that we have to believe that that change is available for us.
Totally.
And we have to believe that it's there, and give ourselves permission that we're not going to listen to everyone who says that we're rebellious and we're rioting and we're doing everything else. We're going to listen to the fact that, no, I'm an expert. I deserve this because this is what the service that I deliver. Like you say, whether it's product or service based. And I hear so often product based business owners saying, how can I? But how can I charge this? And how can I charge that? And I loved that you said that it was about customer experience, because so often we see people talking about that they've had a bad experience, or they've paid thousands of pounds and they don't get the results at the end of the day. And I work with a lot of my clients on their full customer experience, because that's kind of my background in the sales and marketing, kind of more corporate world. So it's just why do you think it's just fundamentally within the systems and the kind of hierarchy that's just because women are just made to feel that way because of traditional ideas?
Yeah, absolutely. It comes down to societal norms and what most of us have been brought up with. Don't talk about money, don't shout about your wins, don't shout about your successes, because if you do, you're being loud, you're being disruptive. And actually, that's exactly what we need to be. We need to be disruptive, we need to be loud. But the one key that I help so many of my clients with to break through from doing okay and good enough to extraordinary and making the money that they dreamt of like a year or two ago, which my clients achieve, is that if you want to be making more money in your business and therefore creating more impact and building more influence for you, your brand, your business, and what it is that you do. And by the way, just a caveat here, when we talk about high ticket sales, it's not about adding just a zero to the end of your price point. It obviously comes with the client delivery, the results, making sure that your standards are super high, making sure that you're very proactive with providing clients with everything they need rather than reactive and scrambling to get it together after they've asked for it. It's a whole process. The first thing that we all need to do, and I had to do this too, and of course this was uncomfortable for me, was that I had to commit to going first. So when I came to raising my prices or saying, do you know what, excuse me, I'm not going to be charging low price points anymore, I'm going to up my prices, I had to have that belief in myself, and I had to create that in myself because I had to go first. One of the big errors I see lots of entrepreneurs, especially women entrepreneurs, make is that they think they need to have the external validation or the external tangible results to give them permission to then go and say, do you know what? Now I'm charging 10K or 20K or 50K for my services. It's the wrong way round. You have to believe it with full conviction in yourself first by giving yourself the permission slip that only you can give yourself, to then say, I am the expert for premium paying clients in my niche. I am the woman that charges 25, 50K, 100K to work with me. I am the woman that does this, and I am the woman that attracts these kind of clients easily and consistently. You have to build that belief in yourself first to then create the physical, tangible reality. Because if you wait for all of your ducks to be in a row, if you wait for all of the tangible results, you're going to be waiting forever and you're never going to take the action that you need. And that's the first thing that people need to work on for then everything else to be actually really simple. Generating high ticket sales consistently every month is actually really simple. It's not always easy, but it's actually really simple. You know, we need to look at your mindset, your ideal client's mindset and psychology, your messaging, how are you being perceived, your positioning. Then you need a compelling offer. Then you need to learn how to sell to high ticket clients. And it's actually really simple.
And I'm making a total presumption here, but I'm presuming if I was to come and work with you, what that would look like is you are going to work as much on my mindset, my resilience, my belief as you are my strategy to actually get the things done. Because what I say to people so often, I'm a certified business strategist, but I'm like, I can give you all the strategies in the world. But if you don't work on yourself, if you don't have that personal development, if you don't work on that mindset and that belief and that vision and everything else that you want, your strategy isn't going to work. It's not going to get there. So I presume that that's part and parcel about how you work with your clients.
Absolutely. I'm a certified business strategist as well as a certified positive psychology coach. And, you know, I utilize both modalities in my work, as well as my more intuitive, like highly intelligent, highly intuitive frameworks as well inside my mind and how my mindset works and how I do business. I was going to say something really important and really profound there, and it's just gone. It's old age, I think, and I turned 40 in December, and I'm like, oh God, like things aren't working the way that they used to. But absolutely, we have to work on mindset. We have to work on energetics. I remember what I was going to say now. If it was all strategy, then everyone would be achieving the goals that they want. You know, every strategy under the sun is Googleable these days. You can stick it into Google, you could stick it into AI platforms, you can go and get the answers. But if that was the key, everyone would be millionaires and billionaires, everyone would be achieving their big goals and living their best lives. But the reason they're not, and the reason that most people aren't in general, is that they don't have the mindset, they don't know how to maintain their energetics to be able to show up as their best selves. And they need accountability as well to go and get those results. And so when clients work with me, especially in the closer proximity spaces like my wealthy mastermind, yes, of course, they get high level strategy. I tell them exactly what I think they should be doing to hit X result. We map it out together. I will build the strategy. I will build the content strategy for them. I will help them build the funnel if they need it, whatever strategy they need. But if they haven't also got the accountability from me to say, look, what you're doing isn't the right way. You need to do it this way. And I always say to my clients, I'm your biggest champion, but I wouldn't be doing my job properly if I don't also challenge you when I think that you're not doing the right thing to get the result that I know you desire. They need the accountability. They need the structure. They also need the space to feel like they're not doing it all alone. And so that's exactly what I provide my clients for in my mastermind, for example, in the Wealthy Mastermind, which is a beautiful hybrid of one-to-one support every week and every month, but also group support as well. They get all the strategy, but you need to have that accountability. You need to be around people who are creating the results that you want to create as well. Because if you're just doing things alone, you don't know what don't know. And you can't see what's possible if you can't see it, if you can't see other people doing it. So that's why I'm always surrounding myself with higher level entrepreneurs than me, entrepreneurs that are achieving 8 figures, multi 7 figures in their businesses, because that's where I want to be. That's the key. It's if it was just about strategy, then everyone would be doing amazingly well, but it's not. It's about your energetics, it's about your mindset, and that's all really important.
It's so important. It is. It's so important. Like you say, it's the difference between the people that do and people that don't. I said it earlier on in this podcast, it can be the major difference. And I think it doesn't mean that those people don't find it hard. You said you had imposter syndrome even as a doctor, and you still do now. The fears don't go away. You know, quite often I'll even say new level, new devil, and the fears don't go away, but you just have a toolbox to go to and a reminder of why you're doing it. And that kind of, when the why is bigger than everything else, it can silence the fears. But it doesn't mean that they go. It doesn't mean, but you have to have that resilience to have the consistency. And let's face it, consistency beats everything. But you have to have.
100%. I think it's really important that people do realize that whatever you consider as successful, whatever you consider as success, and people who are successful, it's not that their worries go away. It's not that their fears go away. It's not that they're absolutely fine with taking risks and pushing themselves out of their comfort zone. But the key difference between them and people who are quote unquote unsuccessful, whatever that may mean to you, is that they are used to making those difficult decisions. They are used to pushing themselves out of their comfort zone more frequently, and they do it quicker. So they keep moving and they keep the momentum. And that's really important, because if you don't, you stay stagnant, you stay stuck. And that's the worst thing that you can do. You know, I see a lot of people that I know I can help almost instantaneously. You know, I can never guarantee results, but I can say, look, I can help you. I know I can help you. And they sit there in my DMs sometimes. And they're like, oh, I'm not sure. I'm not sure. And then they come back to me in 6 months and they're in the exact same situation. And they're like, right, Tanya, I'm going to join this thing now. And I always come from it from a place of value and service. So if I know I can help someone, I will tell them outright, I know I can help you. I know I can help you get the results that you want. But they're still there 6 months down the line in the same situation, or 12 months down the line in the same situation, having not achieved anything different.
Mhm.
And it's a shame, and it makes me sad. It's a shame because, you know, it's their mindset, the belief in themselves or lack of, that's holding them back.
Well, it is. They're just going into like week after week of feeling the same and not feeling, and it is that feeling of being stuck.
Yeah.
And in fact, it was somebody's, we're going to go into the joy question shortly, but it was somebody's joy killer the other week that they kind of wanted to ban the word stuck because they don't want it to be in people's vocabulary. So maybe they'll kind of believe a little bit more. And it is just that, having that. But like you say, you need to be shown belief. You need to know that it exists. And even if somebody else's path, like, you're never going to have the exact life. Like, I'm not going to have the exact life that you have, but I can look and think, but Tanya has created the life that she has chosen. We haven't even discussed the fact that you live in Ibiza the majority of the time, that you have chosen this life, and that's what you have strived for. And every decision, no matter how small the steps were, you were putting one foot in front of the other to get to where you are now. And I'm sure you've got it planned out, like, to get to that 7 and 8 figures too. It just it's just that feeling for people, like, they don't realize, like, the small incremental changes, like we all get told, the 1% that you can do, that can get in your life, doesn't need to look exactly like the person who is mentoring you or you're looking at. It can look how you want it to look, but they will help you with the mindset, with the belief. You know, you need to see that belief to kind of have it for yourself. But I think people look and think, well, I don't want that exact life, so that doesn't show me that that can happen. No, but it shows you that the life that you want is possible, because
Yeah,
that's what that person has done. And I think if people are
absolutely.
just looking for tick boxes, if I do this, 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 and this, I'll get that. And that, it doesn't work, because it has to be your version of success.
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, yeah, I mean, the lifestyle that I'm living now was literally my dream just a few years ago. I only left the NHS in 2021, so 4 years ago. You know, I've had to do it for all the reasons that I've given you, but also, and we've not even mentioned this as well, that I'm a mum to two young girls. Like, that's a huge part for me. It's a huge driver for me to present possibility for my daughters, and to showcase to them that their mum has built something that she wanted to, not that she just fell into. Their mum has chosen the lifestyle that she's built, obviously with their dad as well. He's equally a huge part of all of this, as I keep referring to. It's a huge driver for me to be the best possible role model for my daughters, to realize that they can achieve whatever it is that they want to, because living in Ibiza with my kids in private school, you know, having a property portfolio, having my online business. It was all a dream just a few years ago. I sound like Biggie the rapper when in one of his songs, like, it was all a dream. I used to read Word Up magazine, like, I'm literally quoting the song now. It was literally all a dream, thanks to Biggie, just a few years ago. And yeah, so being a role model to my kids, to my daughters, especially as their mum, as a female role model, is really important for me because I don't want them, I would hate for them to have seen me coming home crying to their dad's arms every day because I just couldn't take the stress and responsibility of being a doctor. That's not representing possibility to my daughters. And so I teach them about money, I teach them about business and about freedom and about they can go and create the work, the lifestyle, the income that they desire. It's up to them to go and do it.
No, and that's helpful. I'm going to move on to the 3 joy questions because your joy spotlight answer is just exactly what we're talking about. So the joy spotlight is a favourite thing that has shaped your life, business or work. And you said it was your kiddos.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah. So, and what I find really interesting when people say it's this, like, why, your why, and I say there's always kind of 2 reasons to your why, and my why was my daughters, and I have 2 daughters as well, and I can't say I would have a business without them, because I finally took the leap after my second maternity leave. I had my children close together. So it was like second maternity leave in the space of 19 months. So it was a case of life isn't going to work anymore, and like you, I didn't want to be coming home and be stressed and be worried about sitting on the M60 in Manchester for 45 minutes to get them from nursery and all of these things. And I just thought, this isn't the life that I want them to have. But I've also then kind of struggled with getting the balance. I'm not a big fan of the word balance either, but the balance right as well, because then I found myself rushing as well when I launched my business, because I was putting this pressure on myself of I should be doing this and I should and I should and I should and I should. And I stopped and was like, well, I'm building this wrong. I'm building this completely back to front, and that I I can create the space now. I can create the freedom of choice now whilst building my business, because I was rushing to get them from nursery, rushing through bath times to get them to bed to carry on working on my business. And I was like, and actually, once I've done that, everything is better. I'm better, they're better, my business is better. So it's not an easy transition either. It's not like just having your own business creates, all this, takes away the strains of parenthood and business and everything else. But it's hard, but it's a hard you pick your hard, right?
Absolutely.
And I can't. So my girls are my biggest why, my huge driving force for me. But I also have my deeper why of why I do, like, I don't do this podcast for the girls. I do this as part of the impact I want to make. So this is now about me and my business. And I think it's really, really important that people know that as well. But without the girls, would I be doing this? Not sure.
I think too many people as well use the excuse of being a mum to excuse them from not achieving their dreams. But actually, let's flip that on itself and use that as the exact reason why we're achieving our dreams and achieving the businesses and lifestyles that we've always wanted. Why don't we just use that? I mean, that's exactly why I'm here on this podcast with you right now. It's because they've inspired me to do this. I need to be the role model. It's like an inner drive in me to be the role model for them, but also to be present with them and to enjoy time. Like, every day, my 2 girls come home from school at lunchtime for 2 hours every day. Like, I would never have had that opportunity as a doctor. Like, they're literally going to be arriving in about 25 minutes, like 30 minutes. And they literally dive into my office if I'm still on calls at that point. So I spend at least half an hour, if not an hour or more, with them every lunchtime, even during the week. That's because I choose to be present with them. So make your kids the reason why you achieve your dreams. Don't let it be the excuse that holds you back.
Exactly. And people said to me, because I launched the business when my youngest was 1, and they were like, oh, why now? Is it not going to be too difficult? Or, why not wait? And I went, wait till when? Where do you think my kids are going to go? Wait till they're 5 and at school. Well, school days are shorter than nursery days. And wait till what? They're teenagers, when I might need to be more present at home because the emotions and everything they're going through at that time, and to know that their mum's going to be there and not being rushed away to something that isn't a choice. Once you have children, there is no good time to launch a business. So like you say, you're building it for those reasons, and you're building it around the children and around your life and for life to work. You're building a business for life, not a life for business. And I think that's kind of really important thing. Okay, so the next one is you're inspired by joy, somebody or something that has inspired you.
Do you know what? I can't remember what I put down when you asked me this a while back. In terms of sort of a very well-known entrepreneur, there is someone that I follow who is just wildly successful, but comes from very humble beginnings, like very humble background. And her name's Emma Greed, who is like she's very well known, and I just think she's flipping amazing because she has, come from East London, not the easiest starts, and she's now built a huge empire. And I just think there is no better example to follow someone like that. There is no better example to show that you can go from nothing to something huge.
Well, it's the ultimate story of like anything is possible.
Yeah.
Anything is possible.
And to do it while she's a mum as well, like she's got 4 or 5 kids.
Yeah.
And, that's highly inspirational. And so by following women like her, it always reminds me of what's possible as well, and what we can all do together. So she's someone that I follow who I hugely respect and hugely inspires me.
And I think what's great about stories like Emma's, and for me, stories like yours as well, is like you can be a mum and you can choose joy and you can choose a life that you want and you can be feminine and show up that way. But you can also want to be hugely ambitious. You can also want huge amounts of money. You could also want, because let's face it, if we have dreams of making an impact in the world and helping people on a completely different level, money helps you do that. And I think so many people are scared, particularly women, to say, I want to have lots of money. I want to be rich. I want to be wealthy. I want nice things. I think it's almost become like dirty to say that that's the kind of life that you want. But if you follow these stories, they're yin and yang within the same story. And I think it's really important to be able to say that you want these things, but I can be caring as well as like designer handbags. Those two are not exclusive.
Absolutely. They don't have to be mutually exclusive. Like, you can be the kindest, most caring entrepreneur, be there for your clients in all of the ways possible, co-create incredible results, but also go and invest in things or buy the things that you want to buy or invest in. Like, of course you can. It's not mutually exclusive. You can have and be all the things. Now, I'm not saying it's easy to have and be all the things all the time. It's a juggle, and let's be real, as mums and women in business, it's a juggle. And sometimes something has to give for you to go and achieve something else. That's life. But you can make a shit ton of money, but also create a shit ton of good in the world. And that's exactly what I'm here for.
No, exactly that thing. And just one of the other points I wanted to make about the kind of mum situation, because you've now brought up Emma as well, is that I know there's things that I have to say no to right now because of the age and state of my children, the job and career my partner has. I'm not able to do all the things, but it doesn't mean that I still can't do things that create impact. It doesn't mean I still can't make money and grow my business. It just means that other things will come in time, and it's just age and stage. So like you say, you can't use it as an excuse.
No.
It's just like, well, I can't do that right now. I'll plan that for next year. But what can I do today? What can today look like for me to create the income, create the impact, and create the life that I want? And I think there was a huge exemplary version of that. Okay, and the last one is the joy killer, thing you would like to see removed from the world forever.
I mean, I could go off on all sorts of tangents here. In terms of business and lifestyle, let's go down that route, because I mean, there's so many things that I could talk about. It really is. If people know that they're unhappy, if people know that they're unfulfilled, and if they know that they're just settling for good enough, but they're totally unhappy doing it, then go and do something about it. Like, there is no bigger thing that irks me when it comes to business and action taking. Seeing people who complain about their current situation, but then not actually go and do anything about it.
Yeah.
I mean, that's huge. I mean, I could go off on a political tangent here right now, and a humanity tangent, which I'm very tempted to do because I've got very strong morals and
Yeah.
all of the things. And there's a lot of shitty things happening in the world
Well,
right
it's
now.
not a good world at the minute, is it? So it's, there's lots of things that kind of move out. But I think, but the one you have chosen, I think that place of lack and that place of negativity, I think if everybody got rid of that and actually came from a place of abundance and gratitude, some of those issues might not be around that we're seeing right now. And it is something that I work and I talk about. Obviously, joy is all over my business. And to the people closest to me, this is hilarious because I'm joyful, but naturally I'm quite cynical, quite dry sense of humour, can be negative. I will give everything a beginning, a middle, and an end before it even starts. But we've talked about choice all the way through this episode, which has been fab. And for me, joy is a choice. And I make a decision on a daily basis that I am going to be grateful, look for the joy, and see the abundance around me. Because if I don't, what else is left? What else is left to see? And you've spoke so much about mindset and how much that has an impact on not just your business, but if you do want to get into the high ticket sales and you do want to look at that, you have to see the abundance around you. To build the belief of high ticket sales, you need to see the abundance around you. And I think, like you've said, if people are constant in that pace of lack of negativity, of seeing, like, we all have shitty things in our lives. We all have. Just because somebody has a really successful business and a Chanel handbag and all the bits in between doesn't mean they don't have problems.
Of
Doesn't
course.
mean they're not dealing with heartbreak and illness and all the bad things in the world, but it means that they're choosing to still build a life and to build that joy into it. And it's really an intentional thing. And I think if people, and I can't stand, especially in the online space, when you see the same people talking about the same issues, no matter which community you show up in, and you're just like, but do something. You're not going to build a business. Nobody's going to want to work. And I'm all for transparency. So, like, I do on my Instagram stories, I do talk. I have a chronic illness and I do talk about it, but I do it from a point of view, this is what I'm dealing with today. But look at what also can happen whilst I feel like this. Here's the choice that I have to deal with that. And I just think people get caught in this trap of complaining and then they get supported for it. So they're then stuck in that cycle.
Catch-22, yeah.
Yeah. And we can't stay in that. We wouldn't have the businesses. I wouldn't have this podcast if I stuck in that cycle. Because nobody would want to listen to me, I don't think.
No, as I always say to my clients, life will always life, no matter how much is in your bank account.
Yeah. Yeah. But it sure does make the choices easier when you're not worrying about the money.
Of course, yeah.
That is absolutely true. And look, everyone get into the business to make money. They didn't get into it. Even if they only want to make £10, they still get into it for money. So if people do want to come and find you and work with you and find out all about high ticket sales, where do they come?
Come and find me on Instagram at Freedom with Tania. That's Tania with an I. Drop me a message, say that you've come from listening to this incredible episode of your podcast. My website, TaniaKing-Mohammed.com. You can come and find me there as well. We've got some updates to be putting on there, but it's still there. And come and say hello. Come and connect with me. Don't be shy. I don't bite. I love connecting with new people. And I'd love to see some of you come over.
Amazing. All the links will be in the show notes for all of that, including the book, because I'm sure there'll be people who have to listen to this that will want to go and get that as well. Now, I don't let anybody go with it answering the last question, and that is, I know it always kind of throws people, I kind of like it, is what is the joy legacy you would like to leave behind?
The joy legacy I would like to leave behind is really a legacy of, for my children, but for all people and all children, obviously, especially my children, because they're mine, to realize that they can go and create whatever it is that they want. and they can go and create the joy that they want. They don't have to wait and depend on someone else to give it to them. They can go and do it. It's all in their hands.
I think that's a brilliant place to leave it. Thank you so much, Tania, for today. I've really, really enjoyed hearing your wonderful story.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
What a conversation. Dr. Tania's story is such a powerful reminder that freedom often begins with a brave decision, even when it feels impossible or uncomfortable. We don't have to settle for lives that look good on paper, but feel hollow on the inside. And here are my 3 biggest takeaways from today's episode. Number 1, you're allowed to want more. Even if your life looks successful from the outside, your desire for freedom, flexibility, or fulfillment is valid. Pay attention to it. Number 2, that mindset isn't optional, it's foundational. Whether you're in medicine or marketing, how you think about yourself, your time, and your worth will shape your results. Remember, the mind and body keep score. And number 3, legacy is built in the small moments. Tania's drive to model joy and independence for her daughters is a powerful reminder that we're not just building businesses, we're shaping futures, ours and others. If you've enjoyed this episode and it's resonated with you, please come and follow us, subscribe. It just takes a second. Click the like button, comment, review, or share it with someone you know that is ready to be brave and start chasing that life that they've always dreamt of. And if you're ready to surround yourself with a community who believe in redefining success and building businesses that feel as good as they look, join the waitlist for the Joy Work Members Club. The doors are opening really, really soon. Or if you're craving deep one-to-one support and strategy, I would love to work with you. Head to the links in the show notes to explore both. But until next time, keep doing the joy work.